How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. I've always been interested in mini PCs because of their form factor. I wanted to free up some space on my table, so I bought this. In this video, I'll be unboxing and reviewing the Beelink BT3 Pro mini PC. Let's start with the unboxing. The BT3 Pro comes in a blue Intel looking box. In the box you get the mini PC itself, a HDMI cable, the power supply, screws, a manual, some paperwork and a monitor support thingy. Taking a look around the BT3 Pro, on the front you have a blue LED that indicates if the unit is on or off, which you can't really see unless you bob down. On the right you have air vents, an SD card slot and two full-size USB 2 ports. On the back you have the power button, DC in for power, a HDMI port, a full-size USB 3 port, a gigabit Ethernet and a 3.5mm headphone jack for audio. On the left you have a VGA input, so you can connect it to an older monitor. And on the bottom it has rubber feet so it doesn't move around on the table, and on the top you have a really nice design with some product highlights. Let's get the specs out of the way. This is running full activated Windows 10 64-bit. This model has 4 GB of DDR3 RAM and 32 built-in eMMC storage. You can also buy this with 64 GB of storage. It has an Intel Atom X5 Z8350 quad-core CPU with a base frequency of 1.44 GHz and a turbo frequency of 1.92 GHz. And this is a Cherry Trail CPU from the Intel Atom lineup. In the graphic department, you get some of the best Intel HD 400. This also has 5 GHz built-in Wi-Fi, but unfortunately I haven't been able to test that since I haven't got a 5 GHz router. I set up the BT3 Pro and after updating it, I only had about 8 GB of space left. So I do recommend the 64 GB model. I had the 32 GB one. To get a good idea of how good this mini PC actually is, I used it as my main desktop. Let's start off with some web browsing. Now, web browsing is fine on this machine. Using Google Chrome, I did find it starts to stutter a little bit on some websites, but it definitely is doable. Certain websites take a long time to load completely, like in YouTube. The video thumbnails don't get duration and the watch later button when you hover the mouse over. That takes a good 15 seconds or so to populate, and this gets annoying at times. One thing that surprised me was the video playback on YouTube. I thought the Intel Atom Z3735F base rail processor, which is in my little laptop, not this PC, I thought that was a bad processor because it can't do anything. So I expected this to be much faster and better, but it isn't. So far, I haven't noticed a huge difference between Bay Trail and Cherry Trail processors. With this mini PC and the Cherry Trail processor that it has, you can get a 1080p 30 video up and running on YouTube in Chrome, but getting there is a pain because of the CPU. While it can play the video just fine, it does drop some frames, and messing around with the YouTube UI will only get you more performance drops. It can't play 1080p 60 on Google Chrome, unfortunately. 720p 60 is same as 1080p 30, which is okay, but 720p 30 is better and gives you much better performance. Now, if you take video playback out of the equation, reading forums and other general web browsing like catching up to the latest news is great. Web browsing on this PC just about gets a pass for me. Let's talk about some gaming. Since I only had 8 GB to work with, I didn't bother installing AAA titles on this, knowing that it isn't going to be great anyways. Streaming games is always good, providing you have a good internet connection. I did get Minecraft, of course. I was surprised at how well Minecraft ran on this. Without Optifine running at 1080p, it hovered around 45 frames per second. It wasn't stable because I just loaded into a world, but you can only expect it to get better as you settle in. All the titles like Quake 3 and SimCity 4 Deluxe would run flawlessly, as they have on my other Intel Atom machines, which are lower spec wise than this one. Emulation will work really well, but I didn't test that. The reason I didn't test it is because you can get a Raspberry Pi 3 at a much cheaper price for retro gaming. The thing is, this mini PC, as most other mini PCs, are pointed towards home office use, not gaming. I didn't do much office work regarding Excel and PowerPoint, but writing documents is great. I have been editing audio with this on Audacity and it has been really good. In fact, I did render some videos with this mini PC, and before you start, I know that's going way too far, but I wanted to see how fast this mini PC was. I didn't render 1080p videos because 720p took way too long. 480p was also very slow, so I left this PC running when rendering videos. I went for a walk. I got back to a perfectly rendered video, which was nice. But this isn't recommended for video editing because it was a pain. Okay, let's touch on some media playback and using it as a media center. I've been watching movies with this mini PC for the most part since it does such a great job. Using Media Player Classic, I was able to watch movies at 1080p with the AC3 filter to downstream surround sound to stereo headphones with no hiccups. 4K playback is a no-go. 1080p 60 is also okay using Media Player Classic since it's not running in the Chrome web browser. Now if you want to watch YouTube, then I do suggest you stick with Microsoft Edge browser as it favors video playback. You can get a smooth playback on YouTube in Edge at 1080p, but it will be very slow to react to changes like going full screen. There isn't much to say about this, rather it's quite even between the good and the bad, which is rare for me to find. Some things this mini PC is great at and others it struggles at very badly. This is all due to the processor. The Intel Atom CPUs are quick, but only because comparing to a mechanical hard drive, they're running on eMMC storage, which is faster because it's solid state. You'll start to feel how weak the Atom processor is even compared to an i3. It always feels like it's choking. It jumps along and gets things done. In other words, Atom processors don't have raw power. Little tasks are fine like typing a document or web browsing, but demanding tasks are a pain for the CPU to handle. There were times when the Wi-Fi just disconnected on its own. I think this is because the 12V 1.5 amp power supply is not enough for the whole system, so it turns parts off to compensate. Similar results when connecting multiple external hard drives to the unit. I was using a wired mouse and keyboard. Maybe things would have been better with a wireless keyboard and mouse combo, but who on earth came up with the idea to supply only 1.5 amps, which obviously isn't enough. By the way, integrated graphics on this processor are not that great, good enough for only watching movies, web browsing and writing documents. I also did put into Linux through a USB, but it didn't recognize the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth. It did pick up, however, the mouse and the keyboard on a USB hub. Maybe someone can configure this, but I wouldn't bother. I tried it and it was a waste of time because I can't even find the Wi-Fi chip. Mind you, I am a noob with Linux. Okay, time for the conclusion. At the end of the day, I think this is a great PC for general tasks, but you should consider the Raspberry Pi 3. Because putting these two together side by side, I was surprised at how well the Raspberry Pi 3 kept up. The Pi 3 can be configured as a media center, a games console, and even a fully blown computer, so I think it'll suit people better. The Raspberry Pi 3 is also better as a media center device and for retro gaming, but as a proper PC, the BT3 Pro pulls ahead slightly. That being said, the Pi 3 is only £50, which is less than half the price of the BT3 Pro, so it is some things to consider, but the BT3 Pro is really nice for small things.